Hi, I'm Paula Doyle, and I'm here to talk to you today about my new ravioli template. A ravioli template is a way of making rag quilts using leftover jeans and t-shirts and just about anything that you can think of to make really cozy quilts. This is by C&T, and it comes with a 14-page booklet which gives you the instructions on how to use it and some of the quilts that you can make. So just to give you an idea of the quilts that you can make, why don't we have a look at those behind me here. All right. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to use the template. And what I use in particular are jeans. I upcycle a lot of jeans so that they don't go into landfill. And I start off by cutting off the legs of the jeans and then giving me a piece of fabric to use that I can cut up 6-inch blocks like that. I can also use, just to give you a bit of advance warning, you can use t-shirts, you can use leftover bits of quilting fabric, and on all of the blocks you can use leftover bits of wadding or batting that you've cut off of other quilts. So I'm going to show you how to do this block here. This is called a blues and plaids quilt, and it's got denim on the front, and it's in this case it's got nice soft flannel on the back like that. Each of these blocks is a quilt in its own right, so that this is what makes it quilt as you go, because all you do is you make up these blocks and then you attach them together to make a quilt. So let's go with that. So I've taken my jeans and I've cut 6-inch squares like that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that 6-inch square of jean fabric in conjunction with other fabrics to make the block. I'm going to use a 6-inch square of flannel, and in this case it's shirting flannel. I find shirting flannel doesn't pill as much as regular flannel, and it gives a lovely feel to the quilt. I'm also going to do a small 2.5-inch square of flannel for the center of the ravioli quilt, and I'm going to cut the wadding into 4 3/4-inch squares to be between those and make the quilt sandwich. So I'm going to take that square of denim, and I'm now going to mark it up. I'm going to mark in this channel here first. This is on the right side of the flannel. I'm also going to mark this center square, and the center square will give me an indication of where to put that center applique. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mark the back side of the denim. So I'm going to just mark that outside line, and that will give me an indication as to where I'm going to be putting the wadding. Like that. Now, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to use some glue, and this is a glue stick. It's a Soline glue stick, and I like it because it's colored and I can see the color on my fabric when I apply it. And I'm just going to apply 5 little dots of glue onto the back side of the flannel. Then I'm going to take my square of wadding or batting and put it in place. Then I'm going to take my square of flannel and sandwich that. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just put one little bit of glue there in the center so that I can take my center square, my applique, that's going to go on the center of this block. Right, so that block is ready to stitch now. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to use Wonder Clips just to grab the corners of the sandwich. So I'm just pinching the denim and the flannel backing here, and just at the corners. And that way I can now stitch around with my machine. No pins, which is great. So I'm going to go to my machine, and I've got a straight stitch here. First of all, I'm going to just bring up my bobbin thread. There we go. And I'm going to stitch all the way around the block on that seam line using a small straight stitch. And then I just remove the Wonder Clips as I go. When I've come all the way around, I'm going to switch to a small zigzag stitch. So about a 2 in length, in width, and a 1 in length. And I'm going to go all around the block, that seam line again, using the zigzag stitch on the machine. And the reason for that is that it just makes the block a lot sturdier, and it makes it it controls how much this block will fray when the quilt is washed. So I'm gonna continue with that like that, and I'm until the block is okay. Here we go. Get a move on here. And I'm just going to go over the beginning of the stitches there. So now you can see that there's a zigzag line of stitching all around the block. Then I'm going to just go ahead and zigzag stitch through the flannel about a 1/4 inch inside the edge of the flannel applique. Notice that I'm not actually using a walking foot. I'm just using a regular foot. It's because it's such a small area that you need to work with. And so you don't really need the walking foot in most cases. Just a nice sharp jeans needle will do you. Okay. Take that off now. And that is the block now, ready to be trimmed, and ready to and then the so that block is now ready to be trimmed and go into the quilt. So I'm going to move it over here. And what I'm going to do, I'm taking my Ravioli template again, and there's a little white dotted line there on the side, and I'm going to line that up with one of the seam lines, and then I'm going to cut it. But I put a pinking blade on my rotary cutter. So the trick with the pinking blade is all you need to do is go nice and slow and easy, and that will trim it all up. So there we go. And that gives me my Plaids and Blues ravioli block. And it's ready to go into a quilt. So here's the steps again. So again, I glued the sandwich, the wadding and the center square onto the marked denim. And I put the wonder clips in place. Then I stitched all around the block, first of all with a straight stitch, then a zigzag stitch. Can't see it that well, but there it is, the zigzag stitches in there. And then I've trimmed the block down to be ready to go into the quilt. So here's several blocks I've done. And what you're going to do is if you're going to be joining them up into a row, you simply take the blocks, put them flannel sides together, take a couple of wonder clips again, like so, and you're going to stitch with a straight stitch along the seam line again. And that starts to create the row. So here we go. Here's one that I've stitched together. Oh, I haven't stitched that one together. Sorry. So anyway, so you stitch those together. I'll stitch that together now. Here we go. I'll go back to the machine. Make sure that I'm on the straight stitch. And all I'm going to do, I'll probably do a little back stitch at right there, but I'll just carry on and stitch the blocks together. And then here they are. It's the beginning of a row of ravioli blocks. And what I'm going to do then is if I've completed an entire row, I'm going to put that row with another row together. Let's pretend that it's nice and long. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put more wonder clips. I'm going to finger press this seam allowance away from me and this seam allowance towards me. Then I'm going to take one of the big wonder clips and just put that over the seam. Put some little wonder clips in between. And then I would stitch that together again with a straight stitch, and that's what would happen. You see, you'd have a quilt. So that's how you do the Plaids and Blues ravioli quilt. There we go. So so that's the Plaids and Blues block right there. You could also, for example, use other backings, other than the shirting flannel. In this case, I've used a variety of shirting flannels that I've just pieced into a fabric, so that makes it still nice and soft and yummy. But I've used leftover flannel. You could also make a ravioli block using t-shirt fabric, and I have lots of t-shirts that I sort of get little holes, but there's still lots of usable fabric. And what I'm going to do here is I would spray something like Terrio Magic or a nice heavy starch onto the t-shirt fabric and iron it, and that would make the fabric nice and stiff. And I would cut my blocks from this stiffened fabric. So I would have things like this. Here's some blocks that I have ready to go. I'd also have bits like this, and I could use those as appliques. So what I would do here is I would mark the t-shirt or the backing fabric. In this case, the backing fabric is a piece of denim. I've also made an applique to go onto it, so that I have the sandwich ready to go. I have a marked t-shirt square. I have the wadding, which is glued onto a piece of denim, and I have a leaf shape to put in there as the center applique. So here's the sandwich ready to go. Here's the straight stitch around the edge of the sandwich, and here's the zigzag stitch. And I've also done some free motion quilting in the applique. So, and then the final thing I do is to take my ravioli template and trim up the block using the pinking cutter. So here's some blocks that are ready to go into a t-shirt quilt. You could also use t-shirts that have printing on them, or anything like that, or just something else if you prefer. So that was the t-shirt ravioli quilt. You could also make a ravioli block using scraps of fabric and a decorative stitch. So here, for example, I have scraps of fabric. And I have my denim. I don't have a center applique in this one, but I've marked my denim and I've sandwiched it with a piece of wadding or batting. And what I'm going to do is I would take 2 of the scraps and just position one, put the other one over it, and stitch so that I'm beginning to cover the wadding. And again, just continue stitching bits of fabric in place until you have the entire piece of denim covered. And then I would use the line that's marked on the denim to stitch around. I would also stitch around that with a zigzag stitch again. And then I would use one of the decorative stitches that I have on my machine, and most machines have some decorative stitching that you could use to embellish the seams, like so. And then cut around that with the ravioli template, and you've got itsy bits and wonky strips ravioli. Okay, so that's 3 main bits. You could also do things like, for example, do an applique. And these are fabric appliques that I've just cut out of fabric. And here's a little cushion cover that I'm working on using appliques from cut out fabric. So this one's called Flower Power, and I've just used regular. I had some scrap fabric that I needed to use on the back of that. So for a cushion, that's absolutely fine. So I could also use motifs that are bought, or perhaps something like a yo-yo to make the blocks. Instead of a square, I could also use a circle and do some decorative stitching all around it, like so. And I could use all sorts of fabrics. In this case, you see, I've used my denim again on the back, and I've just used some batik fabrics and a bit of jeans fabrics. And that's how I did the pool quilt. And this is a great one to do if you. This one was done for a charity, and it was done by a lot of ladies. And the good thing about the ravioli template is it forces you to make all the blocks the same size. And so this one is going to go in the foyer of the pool. There's another one that's identical without the rhinestones that is going to be a nice picnic rug for somebody at some stage. Right. You could also just skip the applique entirely and just do quilting. So here are some blocks that I've just done some free motion quilting on in that center square. You can also use different types of jeans. So here's some black jeans and white jeans and tan jeans, and that would make a really nice, interesting ravioli quilt too. So that brings me to the end of this, and I just want to show you, after you've done your quilt, you need to wash it, or you're going to wash it. This quilt was made several years ago, and I've washed it several times. And you can see that the fraying just makes it look really nice. This quilt, and it's backed with that flannel. So again, no pilling, because it's a woven flannel, and it just frays beautifully. It's the most sought after quilt in the house in terms of somebody needing a nice cuddle, and so that's it. So that is the Ravioli Template, and I hope that that's a Ravioli Template, and so I hope you go ahead and get that and make lots and lots of beautiful ravioli quilts. As I say, this template is available from C&T or from Amazon or from your local quilt shop too. Thank you very much.